Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for January's Outdoor Florida webinar. This is hosted by the Office of Greenways and Trails. My name is Gabrielle Stewart, and we are excited to have everyone today. And I hope all is well with you all. Today, we are featuring Ruth Nickens, Health and Wellness and Fitness Coordinator of the Tallahassee Senior Center. Ruth works to ensure seniors can enjoy fun and safe recreational activities while creating a multitude of avenues that will improve the senior center and advocate for healthy lifestyles. Before we get into the webinar, I just have a couple of reminders for today's presentation. At the end of the presentation, we will have a question and answer portion, so please hold all questions until then. You can use the chat tab to write in your question, and please note that this webinar is also being recorded and will be available to view on the Florida State Parks YouTube channel and our website in the future. So with that, I just want to go ahead and introduce our speaker really quick. Ruth Nickens is an RN and health educator who has been in the Tallahassee Senior Center for 20 plus years. Her position as health, wellness, and fitness coordinator entails developing educational programs, mentoring interns, residents, and allied health students, supervising fitness programs, providing health and resource counseling, and community outreach. She also co-coordinates the FOOT program, Outdoor Adventures, and coffee house concerts at TSC. Some of her notable accomplishments with the Senior Center have been implementing wellness programs for underserved seniors on the South Side, representing senior women on the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and writing the award-winning Upslide program grant. In her other life, she is a hiker, a Labradoodle lover, glass artist, concert host, and tackler of challenging projects. Again, we want to thank you, Ruth, for taking time to speak on our webinar today. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over now to you. So please go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. We did a technology dress rehearsal yesterday, so hopefully everything is going to go super smoothly here. Can you all see that? Hooray. I see a couple Senior Center friends on this webinar this morning. Thank you for checking in and welcome to everybody else. So as Gabrielle said, I am the Health, Wellness, and Fitness Program Coordinator at the Tallahassee Senior Center. I've been there almost 21 years now. What we're going to talk about today is outdoor recreation with seniors. We've always had a litany of fitness classes available as we recognize the multitude of values, a multitude of benefits that fitness brings. During the pandemic, we were challenged to come up with some other creative ways to do things. And so we started doing some outdoor fitness programs. And that has evolved into including hiking and other outdoor activities. So we'll talk more about that. Let me give you a little general overview of who we are, who the center is, Senior Center is, what we do, and what role we play in the community, and then I'll kind of move into the outdoor fitness part. So you probably recognize this building. Many of you who live in Tallahassee have known it your entire lives. You've driven past and seen the marquee and thought, oh, what cool things they do there. Well, we really are a cool and happening place. Some people have a misconception about what senior centers are, but we are a very active community center for independent adults. We target 50 and older, but you actually only have to be 18 to participate. And we do see a lot of younger people getting involved as well. We're very proud of our historic Art Deco building. Our mission at the Senior Center is to offer programs, activities, and opportunities that encourage active living, optimal aging, and social fitness. Like I said, for adults 50 plus, but also actually you only have to be 18. The social fitness we have come to understand, especially from the pandemic, the importance of staying socially connected, not just as we age, but really for our entire lives. And everything we do weaves that intention into it. As for our role in the community, we support overall wellness of adults. And we, again, maximizing social engagement. We also serve as an entry point for a lot of people into the network and the long-term care system. So, for instance, you have someone that's been busy working all their life and they might retire, and all of a sudden they're kind of wondering, now what do I do with my life? You know, they might choose to come take a class, get involved. That might lead to volunteer and other opportunities. And as people age, obviously their needs change, and it necessitates some transition. And so we are there with resources to support people as they grow older and as their needs change. And so that's a very important part of what we do, is the community resources and services. We're also extremely cost effective. If we can help people stay active, healthy, and independent in their homes, it's a lot less expensive than than choosing to move into an assisted living or other. We also spend a lot of time responding to the needs of the population and preparing for that. Tallahassee is a senior hotspot. We have a lot of older adults moving into this community, and we're seeing evidence of that in every way. So as far as our senior center goes, it is a 26,000 square foot historic facility. We have a second senior center being built right now. You may have heard about this. It's in the Northeast. It's off of Centerville Road in that neighborhood called the Canopy. The building got delayed during the pandemic, but it is in progress right now. And every day there's more and more structures going up, and it is possible it would be completed probably a year and a half realistically, maybe the end of 2026, if all goes really smoothly, probably a little later than that. So we are the #1 leading senior focused facility in Florida, Big Bend, and quite possibly in the country too. Our programming just serves as a model for so many other senior centers that we're able to do so much more programming. We're pretty creative and resourceful as well. We think we serve probably a quarter of the adults in Leon County. Maybe it's possibly more. It's 5,000 participants monthly. We also have 13 outreach sites. So I feel like I missed a slide there. Okay, so as far as the outdoor fitness, I mentioned that it was kind of an extension of COVID, an adaptation. But why now? Why are we doing this now? For one thing, we're finding that outdoor adventures among older adults are in high demand. When we do surveys, the #1 thing that people are asking for is outdoor adventures. The boomers, who are our aging demographic right now, they want to do things, they want to stay active and healthy, they want to be outside, but they really like it when the logistics are organized for them and all they have to do is show up and enjoy themselves and learn some things. We're also finding that seniors now and maybe it's not just seniors, hopefully it's everybody, but prioritizing experiences over materialism, right? They've lived a long time, you have enough stuff. What you want is meaningful and enjoyable experiences and creating memories. We also can offer some transportation for some of our outdoor adventures, not all, but some of them. And so that's a benefit that some people enjoy, being able to get on the van or the bus and be transported to wherever we're going to start the adventure from. People also really are seeking opportunities for social connection. So being part of a group is a very positive thing. I love this photograph because you can see everybody's walking 2 by 2, like the arc. They're having a conversation with the person next to them, and it may be somebody they just met on this hike. So that's really fun. You see the social connecting happening right before your eyes. And of course, why now? Because we are providing access to these new experiences. A little bit of history, about this program. We call it FOOT, F-O-O-T. It stands for Fitness and Outdoor Opportunities Together. And the history is that back in 2012, one of my former coworkers, Susan Davis, started the lifelong learning. She started adding outdoor programs to the already existing lifelong learning program. And then it became LOP, Lifelong Outdoor Pursuits. And she would do a lot of the things that we're currently doing. And then COVID happened and we added the monthly hikes because we could safely do that outdoors. And then in 2022, so about 3 years ago, Susan retired. Maureen is the director of the lifelong learning program at the Senior Center, and I'm the wellness program coordinator. So we collaborated and kind of took over the outdoor adventure program, and we wanted to rebrand it. We called it Foot. We did our first outdoor adventure expo, which was a huge event where we brought in exhibitors from all, anything having to do with recreation and outdoors. And we had a menu of speakers, and we covered all kinds of topics: biking, kayaking, hiking, and more. And then in 2023, Maureen and I started an annual summer camp, but we do it in the spring. So it's actually a week where you register for the entire week, and every day we have different adventures. And I think I have a slide in this a little further down, but we do things like hiking trips, but canoeing and kayaking trips, bonfires with live music, all kinds of other adventures. So we're planning that now, and we'll have registration up for that in a few weeks. And then in 2024, personally, I did my first multi-day kayaking trip with Paddle Florida. And actually, I did that in 2023. And that kind of led me into coordinating an expo that was just a paddling expo. I was so impressed with Paddle Florida. And there's so many different ways to get on the water in this beautiful corner of the world that we live in. So we did a paddling expo, and we had 3 or 4 different speakers, and again, all kinds of exhibitors. And I have a slide on that a little later on. And so, we anticipating doing more. I think we're going to do something with DEP in 2025, do some kind of Trails and Greenways Expo. So what are the benefits of Foot, which is really the benefits of being outdoors? You all probably know this, but just to emphasize it. For one thing, being outside heightens your mood. It's really good for your mental health. I know you know what I'm talking about, how good you feel when you go for a walk in the woods in the morning, and you just feel great the rest of the day. It also elevates our cognitive functioning, super important as we start to age. It keeps our brains healthier. It supports physical fitness, right? You're using every muscle in your body when you're hiking. It boosts our immune systems, and we got to try to keep our immune systems strong, because there's a lot of things out there we don't want to catch right now. It also improves sleep and your breathing. It strongly connects us to other people. Some of the best conversations you're going to have is side by side with somebody walking through the woods. It gives us new perspectives, looking at the world. Also builds confidence. Hey, you didn't think you could do a 4-mile hike, but you did it, and you live to talk about it, and you feel good about it. And it also creates a sense of awe. This sense of awe and wonder is something that we really lose as adults. You see it in children, right? They're just amazed by things. They get so excited about simple things. They're curious, and we tend to lose that. And research is supporting the fact that trying to maintain a sense of awe is really part of just elevating the quality of our lives. So this was the program from the 2022 Outdoor Expo. You can see the kind of presentations that we had. We had a presentation on the use of drones in managing, wildlife and outdoor burning, and the firefighters served lunch, that was everybody's favorite part. And you can see also all the exhibitors that we had. And then last year we did the paddling expo, and Janice Hinson, the director of Paddle Florida, was the speaker. It was wonderful. And you can see we had some really excellent exhibitors as well. And it was a rainy day, and it was in the afternoon, and my expectations were not that great, but we had a fantastic turnout. And so we were very proud of that. Here's a flyer for the upcoming summer camp. We haven't completed exactly what our agenda is going to be, so that the activities listed here are just examples of the kinds of things that we'll do. This is what we did last year. And we try to keep it really affordable. under $200 for the week, and that includes the activities and some of the meals, and some transportation. So just know about that. If you're interested, if you think you might like to participate in that, then it should be up on our website, hopefully by the 1st of February. That's our goal. Right now, I'm working on a kayaking trip with Harry, maybe a hike and some educational things out at this some new trails. Well, they're not really new, but they're kind of new to the public. They're the Fred George Trail, not the Greenway, which is part of the park, but there's actually I just did a hike with Appalachian Trail Association and learned about this, even though it's pretty much my neighborhood. I did not know about this. They have almost 300 acres there that is now conservation area. And there's a cypress lake, there's sinkholes, there's ancient trees, there's trails there's not marked, so they're a little bit difficult to follow, but and there's a museum out there about like the native and ancient history of that area. It's quite a little gem tucked away that many people don't know about. So we may do something with them, hopefully, for the summer camp, plus much more. All right, so let's talk about hiking at the Senior Center. Really got the monthly hiking going in 3 years ago. We do third Wednesday of every month. Now, understand that we do additional hikes and activities as we can get them scheduled, but this is something that's always on the calendar. So you can put it on your calendar right now, third Wednesday of every month. We choose different parks and trails in the area. We try to do fairly close in things so that people can access them easily. We don't provide transportation for any of these, but I have certainly given people rides in my own car, out to St. Mark's or to Leon Sinks. So you can see we kind of do a variety of hikes. They're easy to moderate hikes. Sometimes people will want to do a harder hike, so we might do like 2 laps of something, like so people can just peel off after one loop, if they feel like they've had enough. We have recently developed a new hiking rating scale. We looked at all these different scales. There's all kinds of them from all over the world and very technical. And we ended up just basically defining what easy, moderate, and difficult meant. And I would say most of what we do is moderate. And we always we'll always note it on the schedule so people can kind of decide, if they think they're up for it or if it's going to be too easy for them in some cases. Another thing we do is, as part of Foot, is bike rides. We have partnered with the Leon County City Tallahassee Planning Council Division, Bicycle House, Appalachian Regional Planning Council. We were doing a couple bike rides a year, and it was really wonderful because the way we were working it, we were partnering with the Bicycle House, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with them, but they're a nonprofit. They were located around Railroad Square area. They got hit really hard by a hurricane and then the tornado. So they're not really fully back yet. And I think they're also trying to figure out like what they're going to be. But until that happened, they were a nonprofit. Their mission was to get bicycles to people who needed them. So it might be underserved people. It might be people who lost their driver's licenses. You could get a bicycle from them at no cost. They also had volunteers who would repair your bicycle and who would teach you how to repair bicycles. They would also loan bicycles and helmets. I mean, it just a phenomenal organization. So we would meet there, and then people who didn't have a bike could borrow a bike. People like me, I always need my tires inflated. They could inflate my tires for me. And off we would go. We would have a guide. So often the rides would be educational as well. We learned a lot about like the whole Cascades Park development area and infrastructure and the history of that area. And they were, pretty slow, flat rides because it's not super hilly. We'd go out a little bit on the St. Mark's Trail. The bikes were wonderful. We had people who had not been on a bike in 20 years. And so it was a great way to get them introduced again. Unfortunately, we're just kind of at a hurt. We've reached a hurdle right now. I'm kind of stuck trying to figure out how to continue these without the bicycle house's support. People would just need to have a bicycle and be ready to go. And so we're working on that. If anyone has any ideas or contacts, that I would be so open, I would love to hear from them. My contact information will be at the end of this presentation. We also try to do paddling experiences. Like I said, I'm working with Harry's right now to do one as part of summer camp. We've done programs with the River Keepers, the Coastal Plains Institute, the FSU Res. That's really nice out there and super affordable. And you can rent a kayak or a canoe for like $10. People love the paddling trips, and they sell out so fast whenever we offer them. So if you ever see one and you want to do it, go ahead and register right away. Paddling is a wonderful way to spend a day. Talk about feeling great, being outdoors, you're on the water. It's so relaxing. You're, floating along, chatting with other people. It's just magic. And of course, you're visiting really beautiful places that you might not have any other way to get to. And we do a lot more of outdoor stuff too. We do an Itchitutney tubing trip. That's always really popular. We'll do that like in the heat of the summer. We've done foraging trips for mushrooms and other wild plants and foods. We are a major part of the senior games, the Capital City Senior Games, which hosts 16 or so events over 2 weeks at different locations in Tallahassee. And if you're not familiar with the senior games, please get familiar with it. You only have to be 49, turning 50 that year to participate. You don't have to be a great athlete. You just have to want to get out there and move. The sports include very easy things like beanbag toss, a 1 mile fun walk, on up to, bicycling, track and field, horseshoes, bowling. They added disc golf, they added water aerobics. There's something for everybody. And it's a super fun thing to do. It's really motivating. And again, it's so inspiring because you'll see people even into their 80s, late 90s who are out there competing. And you just go like, I want to be like that when I grow up. We always need volunteers for that. So please, that would be a really nice partnership with DEP, because it definitely supports your mission too. We're almost always using outdoor sites except for like basketball and bowling and a few others. All right, so let's talk a little bit about safety tips for seniors. I'm really not a super experienced hiker. I mean, I've always been a runner. I've always walked. The hiking has really kind of happened in the last few years as my job has grown into that. But I feel like I learned something on every single hike we go on. Also recently joined the Appalachia chapter of the Florida Trail Association. And if you haven't done that, I encourage you to do that. They're a great organization. And seriously, there's something you could do every single day of the week if you wanted to. And it's just a great group of people who are very dedicated to loving and protecting and taking care of our trails and greenways. So kind of stepping back into my role as the coordinator, here's some safety tips for seniors. And these are some of the things we try to encourage people to, to actually implement. So I call it balls, kind of the 5 top things. Wear bright colors when you're hiking. It's really important to be visible, especially if it's hunting season, but also if something should happen to you and you had to be rescued or found, you're going to be much easier to find, to locate if you're wearing bright colors. So keep that in mind when you're getting dressed. Also wear appropriate shoes, hiking shoes, not flip-flops, not tennis shoes, not pickleball shoes, hiking shoes with a hard sole and preferably some ankle support, but that's personal. And personally, I decide, depending on the hike, whether I'm going to just wear my low cut or my ankle boots, but really comfortable, well-fitting shoes large enough to wear at least a medium weight sock underneath. Also, always check the weather before you go. That's just common sense. You don't want to be out there if the skies are just going to open up and you're going to be cold and miserable, or the temperature is going to drop 30 degrees in an hour. You just want to make sure you're aware of what's happening. Dress in layers. This is so important. And, especially in Florida, we start off, we're chilly. And before we know it, we've taken off 4 layers and we're walking around in our sports bras, because we're so hot. So Definitely wear layers. And don't forget your sunblock and your bug spray. So those are 5 ways that I ask for people to prepare before they even show up at the hiking site. What should you bring? This looks like a lot, but honestly, I get by with just a fanny pack. Like you can really consolidate this. But this is what we want people to have. Always bring a snack. You might think you ate a big breakfast, but you could get hungry, your blood sugar could drop. Always have a snack, some protein, and in your snack is good, some protein and some carbohydrate. I like, power bars, I bring things like that, or a bag of trail mix. And another thing that can happen is a hike can go longer than you think it's going to, and you just don't want to have your blood sugar drop and get too hungry out there. So it's so easy. Just pack a snack. Whistles are good to have if you need help or you need to get someone's attention. A whistle will do the job. It takes up barely any room at all. You could even hang it around your neck. We had a really nice presentation on trail safety recently at the Senior Center, and one of the presenters said extra socks. And I thought, whoa, that's a great idea, especially if you're doing a long hike, multiple hours. If we're out for a 45-hour hike, probably don't need to bring extra socks. But if you're any longer than that, it's a good idea if you have room, because if your socks get wet accidentally, you step in the mud, your feet get too sweaty, you're sliding around, you're getting blisters. It's a pretty easy thing to do to have an extra pair of socks. Bring a trail guide, or what I do, I take a picture of the trail, on my phone, because usually when you get to a site, there'll be a map, and you just take a picture of that, and then you at least have some. I have a terrible sense of direction, I will admit that, but it gives me some sense of orientation to have that, and could certainly be useful if you got lost or confused. Don't forget your hat, your sunglasses. Definitely want to protect yourself from the sun, and also take care of your eyes. Too much sunlight causes, is bad for our eyes. So wear some sunglasses. I kind of take both, because sometimes it gets too dark in the woods for me to comfortably wear my sunglasses. So I like to be just able to put on my regular glasses. If you have the transition type glasses, that's perfect. You only need to take one pair. Um, and this is a newish thing, last decade or so, but bring your cell phone and make sure it's charged. Not because you want to necessarily be talking on the phone while you're hiking, although if you're alone, it is a really good time to make those obligatory phone calls. But your cell phone is really important, because you can use the directional apps if you get lost, or if you're curious about something, like, oh, what body of water is that to my left? You can use it to call if you get into any trouble, or maybe somebody's just hiking way far ahead of you and you have something you need to tell them. So everybody has a cell phone now, and bring your cell phone and make sure it's charged. Somebody on our hikes always carries some kind of first aid kit, nothing super complicated, some Band-Aids, maybe something we can use for a splint. But it's good to have a very simple first aid kit along, maybe a little antiseptic or alcohol wipe. Think about the things that are going to happen. Most likely somebody's going to fall. They might get scraped up. So you might want to have some, like I said, some Band-Aids. Worst case, they break a bone, you splint them or keep them still, and you call 911 basically, or try to, if it's possible to help them out, you help them out. But that's a whole nother slide. I like to bring chewing gum or hard candies. It just keeps me from drinking all my water all at once. I can help kind of ration my water that way. But do make sure to hydrate. This is really a problem with seniors. They don't want to take water on their hikes. One, because I think sometimes they just don't want to bother carrying it. Also, people have told me they don't want to have to pee while they're hiking. And, it's okay if you have to. You just fall back, do your thing, and keep going. But not drinking water is just predisposing people to dehydration. And we really don't we have had that happen on a few of our hikes, and it impacts everybody on that hike when someone gets into trouble. So just bring water. I've started insisting that people bring water. And if they don't, I say, well, you can't have any of mine if you get into trouble. So just bring a water bottle. And most everybody does that now. Some people think if they hydrate real well before, then they don't need to, but it could be hotter than you think. The hike could go longer than we think. It's just it's common sense to bring water. Okay, enough said. Hiking sticks. Also, we suggest people bring them. They are very beneficial, and I have a slide coming up on that. But they definitely are, they really help with safety as well as many other things. Some people like to take something, some kind of weapon like pepper spray in case you encounter a bear. Personally, I don't carry that, and then some kind of all-in-one tool and matches. And those last three things I would, or at least the last two, like if you're going on a longer hike, like a half or day or a whole day hike, it would be good to have those things. When we're doing a 1 hour hike, I don't think anybody brings matches or tools necessarily. All right, so here's some safety tips for seniors. So when they're thinking about planning their hike and implementing their hike. Okay, first of all, plan ahead. Let somebody know where you're going. Say, hey, I'm going to go hike, the archaeological trails, the mounds today. So somebody knows where I've gone, and have a plan for that. I should be back by 12 noon. If I'm not, give me a call, check up on me. Hike with a buddy when possible, not always possible. I like to hike with my dog. He's a good buddy. But it is really nice to hike with a buddy. And it also builds in a sense of security because there is safety in numbers. And it's great for just socially connecting. Some of, my closest friendships have formed with my friends who I would walk with every morning or, once a week or something. So it's really beneficial in that way. It's really good to start with stretches. We'll talk more about that. If you're with a group, let your leader know if you have any relevant medical conditions, if you have a heart condition, if you're diabetic, so if something does happen to you on the trail, we know exactly what we're dealing with and how to deal with it. As I said, make sure to leave your information with somebody so they know where you're going. I like to exchange cell phone numbers with the other leaders on a hike so that we can connect with one another. Like if you got someone in the back who's the sweep and, someone way up front wants to tell them something, we can do that. So also when you're on the trail, be sociable, but be cautious, trust your instincts. Somebody makes you feel weird, just get out of there. You don't have to engage with them much. I've had that happen and I just started running, until I was out of sight. And then I fell flat on my face actually when I stopped running. But my feeling, I just had a bad feeling and I wanted to remove myself from this situation. And I'm sure y'all, as you've hiked, have encountered something similar to that. Avoid confrontation or provocation. If somebody's, egging you, or just ignore them or be polite to them, say something kind and walk on. Don't engage with other people. You just don't know who they are or what they're up to. We've talked about your navigation tools. If you're in a serious hike, you'd want to take a compass, a map. We've already talked about bringing your cell phone. Staying on the trail is important, and staying mindful of the trail markers, also called blazes. And I have a slide on this too, because I really only recently began to pay attention to blazes. And then hiking stick safety, I added a slide on that, so I'll come to that. And again, hydration, we've talked about that. Just, there's no excuses. Just bring more water than you think you're gonna need. And as far as being human, that not wanting to pee thing, I just hear that so much. And I just want to educate people that it's okay if you have to. Take photos to remember too. Like if you come to a crossroads and we said, oh, I hope I remember the way back. It's really good to take a photo. And I had an instance of this in Nicaragua last year, went out on a hike with some women and went to walk down on this beach, and it was all awesome. And we came back up and there were 3 trails and we weren't sure which one we were supposed to take. And so one of us, I had taken a picture of someone like standing at the edge of the cliff, and we used that picture to figure out which trail we were supposed to be on. So, I mean, realistically, we should have been paying better attention, but we didn't realize there was going to be more than one when we got up there. And be realistic about your abilities. I have a lot to say about this. I feel like people don't always know what they can't do until they try to do it. I've seen this happen in the water. People thought they could tread water out in the open water, and it really, it was too exhausting. You see it, we've seen it on trails where people think they feel that because they walk 3 miles every day, they'll be able to do this hike, but this hike is a little hilly and it's hot out and they can't finish the hike. And so be realistic about your abilities when you're choosing. I mean, I'm not saying don't challenge yourself. We have to challenge ourselves, but just be realistic about your abilities. So hiking poles, this is something that I was thinking about the last hike I was on, because I was hiking behind a woman who wasn't using her hiking poles, but she was just holding them under her arm, and the points were just pointing back and up, like at my eyeballs. And so when you're hiking, poles have a lot of benefit. They provide stability and balance. They give you a whole third, point of balance, so you can do harder things with greater ease. They protect our joints. It's excellent for our posture, helps you engage muscles. Actually, you burn more calories when you use hiking poles. It makes it easier to go uphill, easier to go downhill. But just when you're using them, just consider other people and, try to keep them. If you're not using them, just hold them up and down, and not back. So somebody's going to get hurt. And I talked about hydration. Recommendation is 17 to 20 ounces, 2 hours before you go out. This is, this is like way more specific than it really has to be, but, or 7 to 10 ounces for, every 10 minutes during exercise. So if you think about that, 10 ounces every 20 minutes, that's 30 ounces an hour. So that's more than one full water bottle. So that's where people, they don't think they need any. You really do need to be bring at least a full water bottle for a short hike. And then, of course, you want to hydrate after you've worked out as well, because you lose a lot of fluid that way. With the dehydration, just keep in mind, especially with seniors, that appetite and thirst decreases with age, and you can start to dehydrate even before you feel thirsty. So don't just rely on your thirst level as a gauge for whether or not you need to drink. Just keep drinking. Our body composition changes. Seniors have less water in their body, so it makes them more prone to dehydration. And also, there's some medications that can increase the risk of dehydration. And also, seniors don't regulate their body temperature as well. So I'm just making the case for bringing lots of water. Trailblazing. Most of our hikes with the Senior Center, we have a guide, a volunteer guide that plans and leads the hike. We kind of plan them together, but he or she will often go out and just kind of do reconnaissance on the trail if we have any question about whether or not it's in good condition, or still open. So, and then we have someone who knows the trail who will guide it. So I've been able to just kind of go along on the hikes and do all my part of it. But the last one that I went on, they were talking about trailblazes, and he said, if there's two trailblazes and one's on one side of the other, that means there's a turn. If you see two trailblazes on top of each other, that means pay attention. If and so it's like, oh, that's what that means. I did not know why some trees had two and some had one. So get to know your trailblazes. It's super easy, and it's total common sense, and it can be really informative, especially if you're hiking somewhere where there's multiple trails and the trails cross and you have to figure out which one, to stay on, for what your intended hike was for that day. Also, really, I mentioned earlier, stretching is really important. So I just wanted to illustrate here some of the stretches that are recommended for everybody, but specifically for seniors, because we're notorious for not, just going right out there without warming up first. So some quad stretches, some like some calf stretches, squats, lunges, calf raises. And even if you don't do all of them, just do a few of them to get warmed up and stretched out and activate your muscles. So that's the end of the PowerPoint part. But I would love to know if you had any thoughts, questions, suggestions, feedback.
Thanks so much, Ruth. That was very informative. Great information. I hope you all are feeling inspired to visit and support the Tallahassee Senior Center. This would be a great opportunity for loved ones as well. So definitely get the word out. I think that was very informative for everybody. But like Ruth said, we're going to open it up for questions. So feel free to type those in the chat. And I do have a couple questions to start with. So my first question would be, how can volunteers get involved and what kind of volunteer duties might be available?
Okay, well, I'm so glad you asked that because honestly, the Senior Center could not do all that we do without our volunteers. We usually have a couple hundred, 400 is in my mind, active volunteers at any given time for a multitude, that help the senior center in every way, not just with the outdoor fitness programs. And getting involved as a volunteer is very easy. We have a new volunteer coordinator, Tina. You can reach out to Tina and say, hey, I want to be a volunteer at the senior center, or you can reach out to any staff person. So if you're interested in being a hiking volunteer, you're more than welcome to contact me. There's just a couple little forms you have to fill out. And then we kind of talk to you about what are you interested, what do you want to do, what kind of hours are you available, etc. So often when we get new volunteers, Tina will, let's say they reach out to her first, she'll go, hey, Ruth, I have this person who wants to work in the health program. How can would you please call them and let them know how you can, how they can be involved, what your needs are and everything. So it's pretty easy. I mean, it could be as easy as just telling me you want to do it, and then I'll point you in the right direction. We definitely appreciate our volunteers on the hike. I usually have about 3 people at a time because we'll have a guide. And I'm just going to give a shout out to Ike Eberstein in case he's watching. He is one of the people who guides. He probably does it more often than others. Let's see, Elwood McElhaney, he does some guiding. And then there's been a few others as well. And then I have a few that like to just chaperone, and then somebody chooses to be the sweep, so they stay with the slowest person. And so we make sure nobody is walking alone. And I like to have 3 people at least out there because we're continually like monitoring how everybody is doing. But it's really fun because you're also out there hiking with everybody and meeting new people. So yes, I would love to have volunteers. I have just a small group of people that I reach out to right now, and it always works out, but I would love to have more people in that pool of people that I reach out to. And also there's no limit to the number of volunteers. If 20 volunteers want to come, that's great because we're just going to all take a hike together.
That's awesome. That sounds like you have a lot of great opportunities for people on the outside and the inside to volunteer and, get outdoors. Um, And then my second question was, what measures are you taking at the senior center um, to keep seniors safe during these recreational activities, which you've pretty much touched on throughout the whole presentation. So those are some good safety measures that you guys are taking. Are there any other things that you guys make sure, you do to keep seniors safe?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will create a slide the next time we do this. But yes, we do. And sometimes what we do is just kind of implicit. And so it was really fun to kind of, put it into words that, yeah, we actually do. This is a thing we do. So the first thing is whenever someone is a brand new participant at the senior center, we request that they fill out a participation form. And this gives us their information, their contact information. It also has the waiver on the back, which is very important to have a waiver signed when you're going out on these kind of outdoor adventures. But they have to sign it for whatever they're doing in the senior center. And so a lot of people come to the hikes only. They've never come to the senior center for anything else. So I take some forms out with me so that if someone's brand new, I'll just ask them to fill it out before the hike. So we've got that. We also implemented that rating scale, which we talked about, which, supports safety because presumably people won't put themselves in situations that they're not really equipped and can't manage. Using our volunteers is another safety measure, having people who are experienced hikers just out there on the trail. Constantly monitoring people as we walk and talk, just checking in how they're doing, making sure everybody's feeling good. We also, before we start hiking, we always do a briefing, an introduction. We talk a little bit about the hike we're going to take, the safety things like, bring your water bottle, make sure you have your cell phone, go grab a snack from your car if you didn't bring it with you, those kinds of things. So we make sure everybody has what they need. We make sure, we exchange phone numbers, not everybody, but the volunteers will exchange phone numbers. Um, and of course, encouraging hiking people to bring their hiking sticks. If they're sort of on the fence about whether or not they want to bring them, we're like, yeah, just bring them. Can't hurt. And making sure everybody has water. So those are the main safety measures. And we've been really fortunate. We have had a few, like there was a trip to St. Vincent Island where somebody got dehydrated, and it was really difficult to get attention to them because we're out on an island and they had to be like boated, back to the mainland. And it really could have been prevented if that person had drank enough fluids. Um, but for the most part, everybody emerges from the woods safe and happy. And I have learned that there are off-road vehicles. So if we ever did need to call 911, somebody got injured or got ill out there, they can access you out there on the trail. You just have to be able to describe where you are, and that's very helpful. And that's another part of having the guide or some navigational tools so you can share that.
Yeah, that's great. I imagine that would be one of the first questions that a potential participant would want to know is, safety and, if they're going to be okay on these activities. I'm
Mhm.
going to go ahead and go to the chat to see any questions. Okay, so we have a question from Judy. Judy says, have you ever considered doing outdoor geocaching? I know the city of Tallahassee maintains some caches.
Um, we uh, we have done some geocaching workshops. Personally, I haven't thought about it, but now that you've mentioned it, I'll make a note of that because we're always open to new ideas. Aurora, do you remember Aurora who used to work at the senior center? She was a geocacher, so she kind of helped put together some programs, but that's been a little while. Is that still a popular thing? Geocaching, it's not really something I have
I
ever
don't know
done.
how many people do it. My sister and brother-in-law from Arizona got me started. But there's a group in Tallahassee. There's a Tallahassee geocaching group, and
Uh-huh.
I'm sure people from there would
Okay.
love to, take a group or something.
That's a great idea. Thank you. Do you feel
It's a
like
lot of fun.
it supports fitness too? Do you feel like you get some exercise
Oh,
doing it or
yes, you definitely
yeah.
go walking.
Okay, I will. All right, thank you. I'll make a note. And I did want to make one more mention of when we're talking about safety is that what we did for the first few years was the summer hikes, we would start earlier in the morning because it gets hot so early. And we would start the rest of the year a little bit later. But what we've done is got very confusing to people when we switch back and forth. So we just start everyone at 9 o'clock, every hike at 9 o'clock. And it's not too hot by then during the summertime. And we try to choose really shady hikes when we go in the summer.
Okay, sounds good. That's some great information. Um, I don't see any more questions in the chat. If there are no questions, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you again, Ruth, for telling us about the Tallahassee Senior Center. As you can see, Ruth has her contact information here. So if you have any questions, suggestions, go ahead and jot down her contact information. Um, if anyone here is not yet subscribed to our monthly webinar series, you can do so on our website at floridadep.gov/OGT. And next month, we will learn all about opportunities in hiking and backpacking with our guest, Abe Christian from the FTA. If you have any questions
Great.
or feedback about today's webinar or the Outdoor Florida webinar series, please feel free to email us at Office of Greenways and Trails at floridadp.gov. Thanks again for joining, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you
You
so
have a
much for this
question, Judy?
opportunity.
I was just wondering if you could put that DEP website you said to check in the chat so we can.
Yeah, I sure can.
Thanks.
No
Thank you again.
problem.
Thanks again for the opportunity to present. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much for participating. We got some great information here, and I'm hoping that everybody that attended can utilize that. All right, and
Excellent.
then I went ahead and put that email in the chat box.
Thank you. Now
You're
okay,
welcome.
you also had a website, I think, thing to link to register for something, did you, or did I
Yes.
misunderstand? Okay.
Yes, so that's going to be floridadp.gov/OGT. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat as well if you want to go ahead and jot that down.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thanks for
Bye.
being here, everybody.
Thank you.
Mhm.